I'm going to be doing this presentation on George Washington. My name is Kaylee Owens. I'm in American History and my instructor name is Daniel Baggett. This gives you a little idea of what George Washington looked like in his term of being president. George Washington. George Washington was born on February 22nd, 1732. Born and raised in Pope's Creek in Westmoreland County. He died on December 14, 1799. Washington's education was taught to him in a home setting by tutors. Washington's religion is Anglican. Washington's presidential term was April 30th, 1789 through March 4th, 1797. The family of George Washington. His mother's name was Mary Ball Washington. His father's name was Augustine Washington. He had 3 brothers and 2 sisters. Married to Martha Washington, he raised Martha's 2 surviving children, but none of his own. His terms in presidency. Washington started out not wanting to be president. Washington was the only American president to be elected unanimously. Washington's presidential term was April 30th, 1789 through March 4th, 1797. He served 2 terms as the first U.S. president from 1789 to 1797. The French and Indian War. The French and Indian War, also known as 7 Years of War. This conflict marked another chapter in the long imperial struggle between Britain and France. This war lasted from 1756 to 1763, forming a chapter called the Second Hundred Years' War. Things that led up to the war. In the 1750s, France's expansion to the Ohio River Valley repeatedly brought it to conflict with the claims of the British colonies, especially Virginia. During the 1754 and 1755, the French defeated in quick succession the young George Washington, Gen. Edward Braddock, and Braddock's successor, Governor William Shirley of Massachusetts. In 1755, Governor Shirley, fearing that the French settlers in Nova Scotia would side with France in any military confrontation, expelled hundreds of them to other British colonies. Many of the exiles suffered cruelly. American Revolution. By the late 1760s, Washington experienced firsthand the effects of raising taxes imposed on American colonists by the British, and came to believe that it was the best interest of the colonists to declare independence from England. Washington served as a delegate to the First Continental Congress in 1774 in Philadelphia. By the time the Second Continental Congress convened a year later, the American Revolution had begun in earnest, and Washington named his commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Washington's retirement. In 1796, after 2 terms as president and declining to serve a 3rd term, Washington finally retired. Washington retired in Mount Vernon and lived a happy life. Between 10 and 11 at night on December 14, 1799, George Washington passed away. He had a funeral on December 18, 1799. A solemn funeral was held at Mount Vernon. My works cited page My first site was www.mountvernon.org-George Washington Key Facts. My second site was the history site, along with my other third source. Thank you, and that will be all for my presentation.